Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome on.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another fun edition of the 13th Dimension. And you know who I am. Tonight is one of my closest friends for some time now.
Yeah, the time's ticking away, bro.
Yes.
It goes fast.
Um, and he is also somebody who is, I think, the only one that I've had on the show each of the four seasons, Robert Murphy.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate being on your show again. Definitely honored.
It's always a pleasure having you on here. And tonight we get to talk about some cool stuff.
Yeah, actually, it's one of my favorite things right now.
Yeah, so everybody take a look at all of those cute little toys that he's got sitting behind him. And some ominous looking ones, apparently.
Yeah, you gotta have some. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So tonight we are going to be talking about paranormal equipment that Robert makes, which is something that you just started doing recently.
Yeah. I actually have only been doing this for probably 4 months now, 3 or 4 months. It's caught on pretty quick. Yeah, it's about 2 weeks before the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. I decided to go ahead and start building some. And fortunately, my son's like a little MacGyver. I mean, he can figure out pretty much anything. It's like, just tell me what you have, what you want to do. And it's gone on pretty darn well since then.
That's good. What? How did it get into your head? Hey, I want to make equipment now, because you've been in this field for 20 some years.
Yeah. Look, I never thought I would be the one building equipment. I mean, talking about little wires and everything, not really my forte. Again, if it wasn't for my oldest son, I would have no chance in the world of having done this. I got to give credit where credit is due. Being in the field like yourself, we see things, there's things that we want. I see a lot of gadgets out in the field, and just the perception of part of the reason why when people build things, they're building for the ooh-ah factor of those that are going to use it, those that are going to view it. I'm no different. I definitely throw some of that in there too. But at the same time, there's some things I really want to connect with the other side. And I want other people to have the best opportunity to connect with the other side. And so utilizing some types of equipment that can get us closer by it being both a trigger object and a device, like a REM pod, like the lanterns. If you use flashlights, somebody from the older days might not know what you're even talking about. They might be much more familiar with an actual lantern, so that you can get them to come up and touch the lantern and turn it on. I've modified these where some of them have two switches, which is basically the Pro Series, so that you don't want to startle them with noise. Can understand that too. So it's knowing, for me, it was trying to come up with something that was going to be a little bit different. It's like the lights and whatnot. A lot of things are very small and compact. That's typically what we use because we're carrying it. Mm-hmm. But if you have only a few people with you, maybe on your team or you're alone or whatever, how do you know what's going on around you? So the very first thing that I started out with was the spirit stick.
I remember
lights. So it was just changing the concept instead of having everything so close. It does make sound too. I'm going to play it for just a sec because it's loud. Originally, this was meant to be where you could use it in the hallways or just outside your location. So while you're inside, if something were to move or go anywhere, the motion sensor up here would actually detect it. Right. So it would alert you, and then you could go out and capture it, document it on your video or anything like that. Plus, I thought, if you've ever been on like a ghost tour, ghost walk, or anything else, or a public investigation, there's usually a lot of bodies there, and people kind of get over trying to look to see what's actually going on with the piece of equipment. And so I thought, you know what, it's a lot bigger. They don't have to get so close. Right. Things still play out. So I've actually got it where, like for this one in particular, I mean, even made it to a point where we could actually put an additional, it's got a little jumper up on top. This is what I call the Elite Spirit Stick. It's got a jumper so that I can actually put another piece right up on top. Just slide it right, take the cap off, slide it right up on top. So now you have a much larger. But if you're in a prison, I mean, we've done some of these prisons, jails and whatnot that are huge asylums that are so big that when you set a piece of equipment pretty far on down there, now it looks so tiny. Trying to capture that on film or video, whatever.
Right.
Again, you want to have something that's going to stand out.
Actually, when looking at that, two things come to mind. First of all, if you have them in different colors, you can actually pass those off for lightsabers from Star Wars.
That's what I had somebody make that comment. Was that really just modified?
Yeah. And two, those you can actually put on the windows, because how many times that us investigators, when we're outside of a building, we look at a window, it looks like there's somebody looking out at us.
Yeah.
You can probably put those in the windows and get everybody outside and just kind of go around the building, watch, and holy cow, something's going off in the window. And you got that thing sitting there.
It is really, again, it's an unbiased piece of equipment. It's not like a person where we'll jump, somebody might jump for whatever, just a creak or whatever. It's going to go off, and this is a PIR motion sensor, so it's going to go off when there's a temperature change. It's shooting out these little IR lights, so it's monitoring, and then when there's a change in temperature, we say, a spirit or energy is energy, so it would change the temperature. When that temperature changes slightly, that will go ahead and set it off. The people that are using them love them, because if you had multiple and you have them in a hallway, number one, they're not made to just be used vertical. You can use them horizontally. Main thing is, as long as this eye is going up, now if I have a hallway or a staircase, I want to capture anything that's above, because those that have seen apparitions, they typically are off the ground anyway. So am I really worried about what's on the very, very ground itself? I'm not worried about a mouse. I'm looking for some type of apparition or some type of mist or something that's going to set this off. If you have one on one end of a hallway, one on the other end of a hallway, now you have the motion of what direction it's moving.
Okay,
so
that's awesome. Do you also adjust the range?
I don't. The range aren't adjusted. Won't be adjustable with this. It will definitely go ahead and hit 15 feet away. It's got a hell of a range to it.
Okay.
It's pretty significant. Everything has heat shrink around it, because we can also use it outside, unlike the rest of our equipment. Most of our equipment we can't use outside. As soon as it rains, everybody's like, oh, yep, we're grabbing our stuff because we don't want to have an issue.
Right.
This one, it's got heat shrink top to bottom, except for the very bottom. Unless you're out in a downpour, you're not going to have a problem with it. So again, it's what we know from being in the field, what we'd like to see, something that's a little bit more water resistant. There you go.
That is very sorely needed.
Because how many times you're outside, you got to wrap up because you can't do anything. You don't want your recorders getting wet or anything like that. You can use umbrellas to a point, but if you want to have something else, again, that's watching your back, like even with these little, this is more recent one I've started putting together, is just these little, I call them sentries. Again, motion, but it's not making a bunch of sound. Instead, it has these lights that are going to flash quite a bit. So if you're in a cemetery or whatever, a lot of people there was a lot of talk, and a lot of people asked me about the rope lights. I don't use them. I've heard issues about them. I've heard pros and cons. And then people start asking me if I build the rope lights. I'm not going to build with somebody else's building. I mean, I don't want to copy like that. But I figured to have something that I can set up and spread it apart as far as I want. These are little individual boxes. Everything I have runs off a 9-volt battery. So you can set one up, you can go set another one up, set another one up. You can angle them on their side if you want. Like if I'm in a cemetery, I'll put them behind me in a row. So if anything comes that way, I'm going to be alerted to it. But they're great to have. I modify mine. I put two little holes in the back of it and put a 18 gauge wire on it, 20 gauge wire, and just go ahead and hang it right above a doorway. Now I can monitor anything comes in and out of a doorway.
That's good.
And as small as they are, they're only a 3x3. Very easy.
for everybody out there in the audience, thank you for joining us. And also, here is Robert's website for the equipment. You have everything on Etsy.
Yep, we got everything on Etsy. 24elite.etsy.com.
Let's see. Some of the sites got them. Some of the sites got the website, so I'll have to go in and manually put them in other places. And I've gone in there a few times and looked around, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Well, there's things that I'll do. Like if I go to shows, I run specials constantly, especially at shows that I go to. Like I'll be up in Salem next week. That's where you're going to definitely get the best price. People that are repeat. I mean, I have some people that buy several pieces of equipment at the same time. So I'm going to throw something else in there because I want them to be satisfied. I want them to be happy with what they get. And again, that's my Etsy page. I mean, I just started that like a month and a half ago. So just trying to get word out there, get the product out there so people can see it.
Brad, he's got the peace pipe behind him.
So since Brad's on right now, Brad went ahead and did a 3D print of a peace pipe because one of the things I actually built was a tom-tom drum. One of the spirits that we'll come across is certainly Native American. It's very popular. I imagine just about everybody on here is probably, if you've been in the field for a couple of years, you've probably run into a Native American spirit. But how do you interact with them? Now, I made the tom-tom drums, and Brad was very awesome to go ahead and print out a couple of peace pipes. Now, this is just a prototype right now that I'm working on. Basically, it's a peace pipe. It would have a red LED for the center. So if something comes near it, it'll be a REM pod. I'm going to do it on a half round piece of birch, so it's very natural. We wouldn't have the rope on here once I'm done with it. But if something comes towards it, again, it would make it the lights come on. I wouldn't even have sound to it. Again, we don't always want to shock everything with sound. So in this case, I would just use the LEDs. But that was given to me by Brad. Brad, again, I'll be getting it for you. I've been a little bit slow, brother. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm getting the website put in on LinkedIn because we have a viewer from LinkedIn. Welcome, Antone. And let's see, I also need to put it, right here. Trying to get you out there.
I appreciate that very much. Somebody I know just online, again, he gave me an idea. He's Native American. He's like, hey, he was the one who gave me the first idea as far as for the drum itself. He said, can you make some type of piece of equipment out of the drum? So I did, and which it still works as a drum. It's got an on-off switch on the side, and basically you'll see the LEDs come on.
Yeah.
Now my hand's on it obviously right now, but
Right.
if something comes close to it, it's going to set the LEDs off.
And still use it as a drum. So that's a multi-purpose.
Exactly. So be honest with you, children spirits, so far they find it irresistible. I was actually getting a little frustrated. My girlfriend was laughing at me because I'd be like, leave them alone. Because its location was a Paracon called the Hell House. And the kids, I didn't know there was kids in there, spirits. And boy, between the plushies behind me and the drums, I had to start replacing batteries because they were going through them. Hey, Colette, thanks for being on. I was going through batteries because they would just constantly would play with them. So I would sit there and I'd be like, stop, leave them alone. And I would get a little bit irritated about it. And so they would go dead quiet immediately. But as soon as I walked out of the room, I'd come back in, she'd start laughing because they were just over there playing with them again, having a good time.
Now you are getting a taste of what Janie goes through when you laugh at her.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure I got more to come.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do. Turnabout's fair play.
What I want to do, Brad, Brad said it would be amazing to catch a drum beat. What I'm actually want to do is I want to put a card inside one of where you can have like a music card or something like that, or you can record. And I want to record a drum beat on to put in those eventually. That'd be like the next generation of the drums. So instead of them having, they got a really low tone to them right now, the beep, 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 beep when they go off. But I want to have an actual drum playing just to make it more authentic.
That would be pretty cool. What would also be cool if you could put in a SD card to save any activity that happens around that drum.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Again, they come on. That one's they're sensitive to, they stop immediately. Once the energy is moved away, it stops immediately. It's not going to prolong. I know I've had them going off. I was in a cemetery and one was kept being, every time I pull up my camera though, of course it would stop. Mm-hmm. I'd be like, put the camera down. Of course it would play with it. So I had to kind of be sneaky a couple times, and I finally caught him a couple times.
I'm looking at the website right now, and one thing that really sticks out at me, because it is staring at me, and it looks like you got it sitting behind that peace pipe, the skull with the goggly eyes.
Oh, that one. I haven't put that. That one's actually not the one that's on there yet, but that one's coming up soon.
Yeah.
I just got to finish building it out.
Yeah, that thing is looking at me.
Yeah. It's and again, you never know what's going to actually trigger something off. It's pretty wild just how some things will, what you think might trigger more, it would actually be something, you would think would be a little bit more ridiculous about it, but it works.
And you got a bunch of stuff back there that kids would be reacting to.
Green eyes.
Do you have a skull that will have the jaw moving when something interacts?
No, I haven't done that yet. I've started working with the motion, and these don't move a whole lot, but they do move. So it would be really cool that once you get it starting to move, it would actually chatter. You're right.
Yeah, if a spirit is trying to speak through it, that's when the jaw moves.
Now that would be, figure that part out. That would definitely be one worth the money. That would be fun. A whole lot of fun.
Yes, it would. And I'm seeing you got stuff back there for kids. Kitty spirits.
You got to have stuff for the kids by all means. I mean, if you don't have something for the kids, the plushies are REM pods. And I've made them so they don't actually have to touch them. I've got some that are extremely sensitive. You got to be at least 3 feet away. I just want something that's going to be very sensitive. So if there's a child's spirit or something moves closer towards it, it's going to go off. And then, of course, if it touches any of the extremities, the hands, the legs, or head, I want it to go off as well.
And right now he's saying, tickle me, tickle me.
No. But yeah, I mean, again, that when we were at the Paracon, the drums and the plushies, I mean, they were just playing with them so much. I've got dinosaur plushies, a little bit of everything. So
I tell you what, a couple of weeks ago I think it was Lexington, Kentucky, they had Scarefest, and thousands of people traveled through that. That would have been a really good place for you to set up at.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Again, being new to it, I'm getting to that point of getting out there, but I'm also getting feedback. It's like when I first built this, I didn't even think about it. I mean, my main idea with this was the lights and then having a sound so that I can make it. Again, I do a lot of stuff, either by myself or only with 1 or 2 other people. So we don't have a lot. So if I want to put them and cover a couple different levels, like hallways or something in a building, I want it to have the sound so I could hear it. But one of the vendors next to me, she's like, one of the locations I go to is part of the Underground Railroad. Can you make it without the sound? So originally it would have sound. So I made the Pro model so you can cut the sound off. But every time it's triggered, so if you have it in there, it's not a problem. But getting that feedback, from people is a big deal.
Yeah, I can relate to that because the sounds of the REM pods just kills my ears. about a year and a half ago, I went to an open public investigation, and this girl, she had this little bitty REM pod with her, and everywhere she went, it was on solid, and it was going off so much, it was giving me a headache. So that's why I'm like, I would rather have REM pods that don't make a sound but will still go off with the lights. And Brad and I have actually talked about this several times, and I know he's working on it. I'm glad to see you're doing that too, because I think that'd be really really good, where you can have that option to have audio, to have the sound turned off, especially if you're in a closed room with it. Now having it on when you're away from it, then at least you can know what direction it's coming from.
Right, right. I mean, you're again. There's times to have noise, and there's times you definitely don't want it. And then, how much of the noise do you actually want to have? Who was that? Brad talking about throwing extra things in orders too. That's cool, Brad. Again, I can't appreciate somebody more than somebody like Brad did. You know, he's all about trying to take care of people as well. And we all want good experiences.
It's like every time I'm around him, when I come home, or when I open up a bag, there's something new in there.
The REM pod itself, I mean, we we go, I guess just a millimeter, but if I'm trying to connect with something on the other side and I have a REM pod or a millimeter, I mean, somebody from the past would be, trying to probably more likely to stay back. Like, what the hell is this guy got coming at me with? But if you utilize something like a small jewelry box or trinket box, like I have different size boxes and whatnot, jewelry boxes and trinket boxes. I make those in REM pods as well. Again, trigger objects, something they'd be familiar with. They've been around forever. So bridging that and trying to make things no different than Brad giving me the peace pipes to go ahead and put together for REM pods. Bridging that gap hopefully is going to land us some better evidence.
Would hope so. Are REM pods the only thing you're working on right now? Or are you planning on branching out to other stuff?
Yeah, I've got other stuff that I'm definitely going to be doing, but the motion sensors and the REM pods are definitely the first that I'm putting out. Now it's just a matter of catching up on, I've got quite a bit, trying to keep enough in inventory. Again, some people that I sell to just went to the New Jersey Unity Paracon. Mm-hmm. So they took a truckload of stuff out there, and I'm hoping they do really, really well.
but at least for you, that's already considered a sale. So now it's up to them to sell it.
Yes. Yeah. It's just you want getting the product out there, getting people to be able to see the quality of your product is really important. And then being able to answer questions, because I know how it works, but it's like for the sticks go off for between 24 seconds to 30 seconds would be about the max that the sticks would go off, the spirit sticks. For if you're standing there and you're in the same room with it, the first time somebody has that go off, they're like, but it wasn't, again, explaining to them, if you're just going to use the one with one button that has the sound, you can't cut the sound off. You don't want it right on top of you. Wasn't the purpose of it. So that's why I create the second one that has where you can cut the sound off. But explaining, if you want to document it, you have to, if it's in the next room, you have to have time to hear it, and then grab your video camera, and go in there and actually document what's going on. And if it goes off for 5 seconds, you ain't got no chance at that. So just trying to bear that in mind. With
the Elite sticks, how many of them can you link together?
I'm only putting 2 together because once they get up, can't even see it all. This is 2.
Okay.
At that point, you're already 3.5 feet high. I think that's more than enough. But we're on a solid surface here, but if you go outside, you have grass or anything, we don't want it to be so heavy that it could fall over. Wouldn't really do you any good.
Now, when those two are connected together, do both of them go off at the same time, or
at the same time?
Okay, because I was going to ask if you'd be able to get it to where if something touches the bottom one or the top one, only that goes off.
There's some other things that are going to be coming out with it.
Okay, because I got an idea for you.
You can see if it matches some of the ones that are on the board right now, but
yeah, because I can already see the design of it. So I got an idea for you for those elite sticks.
Love it, by all means. That was the first product that I put together, again with my son's help, and 2 weeks after, matter of fact, even in the pictures, there was a team that started advertising something kind of close to it. You know, it had a box and then it had two of them sitting side by side with these big old motion sensors off the top of it. And I was like, one of the people in the picture actually bought mine from me 2 weeks prior. I was like, really? Good luck with that.
Do you at least put some kind of a signature on all your stuff so that when people see it, they know, oh, this is Robert, this is elite stuff?
I have stickers that come with most of the material has stickers that come. I'm actually going to be putting on a different sticker to it as well. The QR code.
Okay.
So that if somebody scans it with their phone, that it will automatically take them to a video that will explain everything about that particular product. And that's the pros and the cons. A lot of builders, unfortunately, do not put any type of information with their product.
No, they don't.
So you get this. You know, you open up, you're all excited to get, and you're like, okay, what the hell do I do now? And you want to use it. You just paid for it.
To be fair, a lot of the stuff that some of the people make is pretty self-explanatory. Now, when you start getting into some of the more prototype stuff, then, okay, yeah, how do I use this thing?
Just as simple. You know, people go, well, where's the power? You know, you can open the bottom and see the power of the box, but they're going to hit me up and be like, okay, 9-volt battery in the bottom. It's okay. It's pretty easy to get to, but not as you would think it was already self-explanatory, but evidently not as much as I thought. But again, even to be able to use something, whether it's a REM pod, a plushie, a lantern, or anything, explaining about extra energy. I mean, the wires in the floor, the wires in the wall. Now we're into the cold period, so you're going to have temp heating and how that can affect our equipment. It's like a K2. A K2 is probably the most damn near every one of us own a K2, for God's sakes. It's the most fallible, absolutely has all kinds of issues to it, but it can be used when used properly, it can work. I'm not saying it can't, but it does have the most false reads, false positives, because people have no idea what can interfere with it. So if I put a QR code that can scan a video and generally have the pros and cons, okay, this is how far we need to keep it away from any other power source, then at least that helps them out some. What to look for when the battery goes dead or is dying, you want to know how that thing's going to act differently.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I found that out the hard way with the K2 going out. Yeah, I remember when I first I got my K2 back in 2011, and it ran on the same battery for 5 years before I knew how to properly use it. Now I do not even try to use it to communicate with anything. I only use it to find bad stuff in the walls.
Yeah.
That's all I do with it.
No, and unfortunately, a lot of people even got away from that. I mean, the Melmeter, there's Melmeter, that's just a smaller, the same type of unit that is just more, it's more sensitive at the low range as far as the K2 is. So it picks up any type of anomaly, like you say. If there's a bad grounding area in your wiring inside the wall, and people have literally talked about, had a public library where everybody was talking about this child must be touching them. There must be a child spirit because everything is from the lower waist down that people feel like they've been getting touched. Take the Melmeter and kind of go in the same area and you pinpoint it, and it looked like this major science project when you pull all the furniture apart away from this area. You could not, I don't know how, I really should have taken a picture of it because I don't know how they put so many plugs together. In my life, I could not have figured that out. I'm not a Rubik's Cube kind of guy, but oh my God, there was so many pieces. once that was disconnected, nobody's ever reported that again.
Like Christmas Vacation?
It was worse. It was amazing. They put so much in there. And of course, it's metal desks that they have against it. I'm kind of like, wait.
How did that not catch fire?
I've never seen so many plugged in together somehow or another. Somebody had to have spent some serious amount of time to figure out how to plug all that shit together. In all sincerity, it was crazy. I've never seen that. But again, once you using a piece of equipment to go ahead and say, okay, look, this doesn't make sense. And now no different than you do with the K2, now you can troubleshoot where the issue is. Now here's a logical explanation. And again, there's never been a report of it again. So
hopefully there's a way that we can be able to combat that issue. Because I know I've had several issues with the plug-in because I had so many different things that I needed to plug in. So it'd be nice to be able to have something to combat that and not have to worry about catching fire.
Well, so many things are going with the USB cables now, and now you have outlets that have like 6 outlets and 9 USB.
I've seen those. And they work. So I have a couple of them like
yes,
they work.
Yeah, just wait for somebody else to plug 10 more of them together, though. That's what you're going to have eventually.
I don't even want to think about that. Before we started the show, you showed me something that is right behind you that looks so cool. Looked like it came out of the 1800s. A futuristic 1800s. Let me say that.
The first idea I have about the lanterns came from Pam Berry. You know, they do the Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. They've got a store, the historic haunts of Waynesboro in Waynesboro, PA. I was at the bash, and again, I had my light sticks, the spirit sticks, and she said, "Let me ask you a question." After she asked what was going on as far as with the elite spirit sticks, she says, "Can you make a lantern, make a REM pod out of a lantern?" I thought, sure. She's like, I've asked every builder to do it. So it was her idea to try to do in a lantern. So the first lanterns I bought this is one, and I bought a smaller one. Because again, I want something that's looks like it's got some age to it, something that somebody on the other side could relate to back in the day. It does have an actual wax candle in there, but it's got an LED that I pushed up through the candle to make it actually work.
How hard was that?
Getting it into it's not a problem. Like I said, this was the prototype. It was 2 of them. Now this one I can take and turn the sound off, which is what I've got right there. So if something touches it, or I can have the sound on. The neat part with this is, again, I went ahead, since it was Pam's idea, I went ahead and gave her the other one. It's a little bit smaller, a little bit easier to carry into the field, but it has the wax candle. And she just told me, I think 2 weeks ago, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. You got to hear this. I got the greatest recording from this." You can hear a person actually going, like they're trying to blow the flame out. It's an LED, but they don't know that. They see a candle. So for her to have the idea, give me the idea, have that type of candle in it, and to capture somebody who's trying to actually blow it out, come on, that's just awesome. If that doesn't sound cool to you, then you're in the wrong field.
Yeah, it is awesome, but damn, that is so cool to the spirit.
It was, when she told me about it, she goes, because her daughter was going, "Well, what's that? What is that?" And she's like, it's not somebody talking, it's somebody, you can hear it, somebody trying to blow it out. So somebody was into it.
and that was actually kind of what I was going for with the lantern that I take, but it's a modern lantern, so it's not one that looks like it'd be with the candle where you can blow it out. But it was the same idea, because I know that back in the day before electricity, That's what you had. You had the
Yep,
lantern to be able to make your way around a big building. Otherwise, you can't see anything.
exactly.
So to have a lantern with what looks, well, in your case, an actual candle in there, one that you still can't blow out. That's what we need for old especially the old jails.
Yeah, I mean, people are going out on these ghost walks and everything else, and for them to actually be able to carry one,
Mhm.
because a lot of them are carrying a lantern. But if they could carry a lantern, obviously that they can also use, it's easy to go ahead and actually have that something that's more back in the day, something that's more recognizable. It just makes all the sense in the world. It was a great idea, and again, it was Pam's idea, but people they send me ideas, and I'll go ahead and see if I can't put it to use, which was really cool.
It'd be nice to be able to have a REM pod in a lantern, but yet you can carry it around and it not activate because you got it, but it'll activate when something does react with it and it's in your hand.
There is another where the other option is, and I have them, they're just actual lights that go right on the front of it. If you want, you could actually put the light just to push on and off. You can plug it into a USB, so it's separate. With the lantern, these are metal lanterns. These are basically were oil filled lantern, to be actually used, that I'm just modified. Obviously, you're not putting anything in them now, but you could put a light on one side of it and actually go ahead and do that so that you could walk with it. And then you get to the location, you just touch the light out, and now you can activate it as the REM pod, which is great for the tours. That's a big deal for them.
Yeah.
And actually, Pam's husband, Steve, was the one who was real big into saying, hey, what can we put here? Can you put something on this for that purpose? Same purpose you're bringing up now. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's my girlfriend, Marie Clements. She loves to claim, if I make something and I have to try to sneak it past her because she wants a good collection of equipment.
Oh, and she just got into the field.
Yeah. She's been excited about it, and just like a normal person, you see shows, you see things, you have your own personal experiences, but yeah, she got to have a real experience, so she's hooked on it. But I'm surprised when you have a real experience, you're either going to be hooked on it for life, or you just want to go just the opposite way as far as you can. And she stuck with it, so
It was good to have somebody supportive like that.
oh my gosh, she's so supportive, and I can't thank her enough for that. But she's real quick on trying to lay claim to whatever equipment I'm building.
Oh. All of the plush that you got behind you, the Elmo, Big Bird, Mini, Lilo, I think the one is called.
It's one of them, yeah.
Yeah. So have you taken all of those, like at a school or wherever a bunch of children would be, and put those all in a circle and seeing which ones get interacted with?
Haven't had them in a circle. We've had them again at a couple different locations. The first time it was a dinosaur that I have. It's a little Rex dinosaur, like a whatever, the T-Rex. And that one seemed to be the most popular. Now, they all are extremely sensitive, but the first at the Hell House, Marie was with me. And she was talking to somebody, was relating. I mean, they would turn it on the T-Rex, even though the other ones were right there. Mm-hmm. Now, there's times when all of a sudden you'd get 4 or 5 of those come on, and then a couple of the REM pod boxes would come on. But she carried on about a 20-minute conversation easily with something over there.
Wow.
Asking it to, turn the dinosaur back on, and it would definitely come back on.
Have you made a REM pod out of like an old toy that somebody from the early 1900s would have played with?
Really have not put them in toys yet. That's going to be something that's when I catch up on some time. Yeah, I mean, even some type of old car, anything that they would have used, some type of old toys. We definitely, again, that's what we're trying to use, because that way you have the trigger. It's not just like a plushie that maybe a little girl or a really young boy might play with, but something, you can target specifics. It's a good point.
Yeah, because that's something I always try to do when I go to the Old Lake County Jail in Crown Point, because they have a juvenile section, and we try to do something with toys, um, as far as what we have. And I'm thinking, okay, that jail built in the 1880s, it closed in 70s, I think, and they would have had the old toys that were built so well that are still better than the toys made today, naturally. Uh, so that's why I think it would be a good idea having those plush toys back there. Great idea, but I also think that it might help out if we had the old toys, or it
Oh, absolutely.
looks like the old toys. Let me say.
I want to even take one of the things that I've run into several times is jacks. I mean, the kids seem to want to play jacks. It's pretty simple, but it sounds a little bit strange, when you're first getting into the paranormal. But again, they've been around for a long time. So I'm looking at actually putting those, just kind of like glue them onto the top of a box. And then anything that comes near that box to like try to play with the ball or the jacks. I mean, yeah, we want to see the ball move, but I want to see if something's coming drawn to it, to your point. That'll be something to be in the near future, something like that you can have it displayed, but at the same time, you can get them come to it, ideally.
Right.
When you get away from just the antennas, and you can make them sensitive enough that if they're within a foot of it and it goes off, then you're drawing something in that's curious.
Right. Too bad we don't have rim boards that are small enough to go into jacks.
Yeah. Now I don't. Yeah, not me. These digits won't do that. These little boxes alone are bad enough. This is tiny. It's a real small box, so just wiring any of the stuff that's really small, that's about the limit of my fingers. Can't go in that tiny little stuff.
And soldering stuff together in a little box too.
Yeah, I just got to teach Marie. She's got a little bit smaller fingers. Get her to do a little smaller stuff.
Uh-oh. Somebody's putting you to work, Marie. Run. It is so refreshing seeing that, as long as you've been doing this, that you are continuously evolving. And now you are doing equipment. That's the amazing thing about seeing what a lot of people are doing, and perfect case for you, because you're not just sticking with one thing forever. You're doing new things all the time now.
I'll be honest with you. I mean, I think a lot of us fall into, we get our comfort zone, and then we get a little bit, maybe we're a little apprehensive or scared, if you want to be honest about it, about taking the next step. I got into it. I went ahead and started my team pretty quick, and just ran a team. I've run a team damn near since I've been into it. And so it was good to have that information behind me, and then to try to go ahead and expand from that. Then I got to a point where I wanted to go ahead and put books out. I am not the writer by far, in typical. I mean, I'm sure any of my English teachers are like, what the hell happened here? There's no way that ever happened.
And you got 2 books out, right? Or
I got 3 books out now. Yeah.
Now? Okay.
And then again, you do the investigation, you do the podcast. I've been doing the shows for quite a while, and then the books, and now to go ahead and build, like you say, it's the field is incredible by far, and it's what we make out of it, and what we hold ourselves back. That's pretty much it. In this field, it's up to you. If you hold yourself back, that's on you. Shame on you. Make it happen. I mean, a lot of people say, look, well, people like the lanterns. Well, I've said that before. I thought that would be a really good idea. Well, great. You could say it, but if you don't get somebody to put it in motion, you're still sitting on the sidelines.
Me, I like being on the sidelines. I like being behind the scenes. I don't want to be projecting out. Granted, yes, I do these shows, but that's one thing. The real work is what I do behind the scenes. That's what I enjoy most.
And by all means, I've got all the respect in the world. We were talking about that beforehand. I need to get some lessons and get more educated on a lot of the stuff behind the scenes, because there's a lot more to it. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people just don't really comprehend. It's no different than building. People cannot comprehend what it takes to really start to build. You know, it's kind of like people playing the guitar. You know, they start and all of a sudden most people stop because, damn, it hurts. You know, your fingers are like, ouch.
Yep.
Building is no different. I mean, you will feel it by far. And so a lot of people will just drop off or for it get too complex. There's a lot to be learned. And real quick, Brad, just hit you back up real. Yeah, Jeremy actually showed that to me, which I think is awesome.
I'm gonna bring that up here for everyone to see so that they understand what he's talking about. So this is the second generation of the 4-in-1 box that had the music sensor, the temperature sensor, REM pod, and he took the music out and compacted down so that it's not taking so much room in the bag like the old one was. That thing was bulky as hell.
So that was built by Brad, who's on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And again, Brad takes it to you. You guys are looking at it. You're checking it out in the field. You know, there's a lot of, again, that's what I'm saying. There's so many steps and the modifications that get made. We get them into the field and we go, you know, and it's change. And then here you go again.
And that's exactly what I did with him for a year. I tested it out, and that's the behind the scenes thing that I do. He's coming up with these ideas. He's building them. He gave me the 4-in-1 box to try it out. I had it for a year and a half, something like that. And I told him, okay, this works. That one doesn't work, and that's my contribution to what he's doing.
And that's what's needed. I mean, in all sincerity, it says you abused the first one.
That's because it was in the bag with all of my other equipment, and I was trying to shove everything else in there. Smaller box, damn it! But yeah, that 4-in-1 box, it worked out really well in some respects, but other respects not so much. But you can learn from that.
And again, mad respect for that. You know, it's when you're building, you're getting feedback, and then, you know, you're going to have to take criticism. If you don't want criticism, you don't want to build equipment, because you're going to get it no matter if you want it or not. The lanterns, I'm sorry, lanterns are a hell of a great idea. I don't care. It wasn't even my idea, but I put them out, and for one guy's like, well, it only has a single use, and it's like you're going to use it and discard it, is the way he wrote it. He's saying just a general purpose. Well, REM pods have a general purpose, but it's also a trigger object too. So,
yeah. But
just the mentality that's out there on some of these people, it's like, wow, okay. You know, he doesn't get very good evidence.
Well, with me and Brad, he knows where I'm coming from, and he knows I'm not going to be the guy to say, oh, this thing sucks, this thing needs to be better, yada, yada, yada. What I did is, okay, the music comes on, but it stayed on the whole time. It did not go off, and I had to shut it off. So that was a feedback that I gave to him. Nope, nothing malicious about it. Just stating matter of factly, while still remaining respectful to him, because I didn't want to get him to a point where I don't want to work with this guy anymore.
Well, that's one of the reasons why somebody like Brad will work with yourself as opposed to other people, because you do have, look, people are going to get jealous because you're all of a sudden you start building something, you put something out. If you get a piece of evidence that is the cream of the crop, I mean, it's 100% legit, you're still going to have people that are going to go just the opposite way. Just, you know, part of it's out of jealousy, unfortunately. So to have somebody that can give you the feedback respectfully, awesome. It's
Yeah.
needed. I mean, you have to have it. It's no different than, it's like pretending the K2 is the perfect piece of equipment, even though each one of us have it. I mean, if somebody doesn't teach you the flaws to it, how do you know what to look at? SLS camera, same thing, can get some incredible evidence, but how often is it incredible evidence and how often is it just the programming? If somebody doesn't teach you that, how do you figure out, on the fly when you're in the field, or are you just going to go ahead and keep putting out all these clips that are just, they're not? Well, you'll eventually learn that no, that was all false positives. But
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've talked to people about the SLS camera. I just give up on it. I do. It's
if they see a little stick figure, it must be real, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like that poor dead horse that has probably been worn all the way down to the bones now.
But having people and being, keeping your mind open enough that you can go ahead and take that in. And for us, like Brad, I mean, just like he said the same thing, where somebody places a decent size order, he's going to put something else in there. Because again, we want to keep people happy. There's not, out of the builders that are out there, some of the builders, there's a couple of people that absolutely, there's no doubt they have some incredible, they take a lot of pride in their work. And then others, customer satisfaction or service or anything like that. Yeah, no, you've got a better chance getting that at McDonald's.
Yeah, let's I'm going to go there. but no, you are right, and I'd like to think that a lot of us are somewhat smart enough to know, okay, this guy's going to be the real deal, or this guy's going to be a flash in the pan.
It's amazing. I kind of wish there was just a site dedicated to equipment, as far as where people could just put in their 2 cents, positive or negative, doesn't matter. Look, everybody's going to get a negative at some point or another. It's going to happen. You can't beat it. But if you take the right steps for it and you just track it, why not? But to have, compared to some of the, I've heard these horror stories of how many people have ordered stuff years ago and still have not received it. That's money, man. I mean, unless you got money to be throwing around, most people don't have that much money to be putting out there anyway. And this field is not cheap. I mean, it can get expensive.
Oh boy, does it ever. And right now I completely find myself speechless by Brad.
I know, I just saw that.
You know the story behind that, don't you?
No, I don't, but I can imagine.
Well, you know Nick.
Yes.
He has a deathly fear of cockroaches.
Okay.
So ever since he made the mistake of saying that, a lot of people like to torture him with it. With pictures and videos. They send stuff, say, hey, check this out. I feel bad for the lad. But he takes it in good spirits, though. Brad once mentioned he was going to put a sticker of a cockroach on the inside of one of the pieces of equipment so that Nick would always have it with him and never know it. Brad's mean.
Hey, again, he definitely thinks outside the box. That's a good way of doing it.
He does. He really does. And a lot of you guys do, because I know a lot of you who do pieces of equipment. You, Brad, Austin. There's a lot of you that work on different aspects of it, and a lot of it is REM pod based, but you guys are trying different ways of doing it.
I think it's important. I mean, my whole point is I want the field to go forward, and it's no different than, I don't keep secrets about. If I give suggestions left and right, I love giving suggestions only because I know how much time it costs me to learn what I'm suggesting. It's like if you go in a room, I'll explain to people, especially if there's children, supposed to be children's spirits, sit down on the floor if you can. Get down low, because your profile, you change your profile, you're not as intimidating to them.
Mhm.
I just want people to get the better evidence. I mean, that's how this field moves forward, is by having more credible, better evidence. So why wouldn't you want anybody to get the better evidence? I mean, why hold anything back?
And by being able to get that better evidence, is you need better and more legitimate pieces of equipment.
Yes. Yeah,
And
things are
that's
not so flawed.
yeah, that's where you guys come in for, man. I personally am grateful for you guys doing this. I I I, I get the feeling that being an equipment builder, and I know Brad has told me some horror stories, it's a very thankless job.
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, you're going to run into, even with the short time I've been doing it, God knows you got to put things in the mail. There's nothing worse than having something destroyed by the mail. And like as though they took, and like I had the first piece that got messed up was actually 2 of the spirit sticks, and it looked like the person must have taken it behind the mail truck and drove over it a couple times. I mean, it was literally,
Ooh.
oh my God. So I mean, you can't be more sympathetic to the client, because they're looking to use it. They're like, look, I didn't even open this. I don't have to. It's all.
That's where I'm lucky with Brad. He did mail me some stuff, and they came out fine. But at least with him, I'm only 3 hours away from him. If it's something big, he can beat up.
Yeah, we're at the mercy. I mean, you're at the mercy of the client themselves, the customer that gets it, hopefully is going to be decent, and not, you get people that make up. I used to sell lasers all the time, and you'll get people that say something, and then it's that one thing. You actually start talking to somebody, and other builders know exactly who you're talking about, because they've dealt with the same customer.
Yeah.
The person's just trying to get everything for free. I mean, you get that type of thing.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those stories too. Hey, can I get a discount on this, that? No. All right, Robert. We are at the top of the hour. It's time for us to sign off. I really do appreciate you coming on here. We've been doing shows together now for once a year for the last 4 years now.
Yep.
And I'm sure I speak for a lot of your fans, but I'm hoping that you're going to be bringing your show back on soon too.
My show will be coming back. It definitely will be coming back. No doubt about that. I probably got about another couple of weeks, and then I'll be airing mine back up on there as well. My Paratalk.
So that's good news for a lot of you folks. So next week, I don't know who I'm going to have just yet. I'm working on a couple of people for the 13th Dimension, and on Supernatural Talk, I'm going to have Marcus Beebe from Louisiana, I think he's from, and he's got a show on YouTube called Spirit Guides, and he's released a few shows for season 3, I think it is, or it could be season 4. Don't hold me to that. And again, let's see if yep, still there. And again, that is Robert's website for his equipment. Go in and check it out. A lot of colorful stuff. Let's put it that way.
If you have any questions, man, hit me up with a message or anything else. Be glad to. Jeremy, again, it was an honor to be on your show again. I sincerely appreciate that very, very much.
All right. I am so glad to have you back on here, because it is a learning experience every time getting you on here, because you are just, to me, you're the smartest guy I know in the paranormal field.
You poor guy.
I have talked to so many other people, and I'm going to talk to Robert.
Amber just jumped on. Darn.
You're late. We're into the show. And also on that website, you will have Robert's book out, True Encounters of a Paranormal Investigator. That's the new one, isn't it?
That's the new one. That one actually tells stories, it's not just about me. It's about Janie. It's about different things that we've run into. But it's short stories, but yeah, but it's a good read. That's the best book I've got out so far.
Okay. And how is Janie doing?
They're doing well. Thank you.
That's good. Tell her I said hi. And
I
and
will.
also, and also stick around. I'll tell you about the idea that I got for you.
Okay.
So for everybody out there in the audience, thank you for playing along. Much appreciated. And we will see you guys next week. Have a good night.